Hey City Collective Church, thanks for joining us for round 2 of COVID Conversations. You're in for a treat today. I have two friends of mine down from the US of A, Colorado specifically. That's correct, right, team?
Yes, Colorado. Whoop, whoop.
Um, Maurice and Aisha, who are part of a great church down there that are serving and doing some great things and are experiencing the chaos of this time in their own way as well. So I've asked them if they could come and chat with us, share some of their wisdom, and even just share some of their experience of what relationship is kind of looking like during this time. So Maurice, Aisha, could you just introduce yourselves and let us know a little bit about your story?
What's up, Jason and City Collective?
City Collective?
Appreciate it with you guys. Thank you for the opportunity, Jason. Yeah, my name is Maurice. This is my beautiful wife, Aisha.
What's up?
And we are originally from Los Angeles.
California.
Los Angeles, California.
I rep California as home always.
LA, baby.
Always.
Sorry.
Proud California girl.
Love it.
So we're originally from LA, but we've been in Colorado for 4 years at a church plant. And so we moved out, and we're part of the teaching and preaching team there. And so it's been awesome, feeling really cool in this area. And so it's been good. It's been an amazing shift. And that's a little bit about us. Married
baby,
5 years.
You forgot, that part.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
been married 5 years in September.
Yeah.
I am someone who never saw myself being married. I was just single, Miss Independent, Los Angeles.
And then I showed up.
Well, really, God entered the scene and just changed so much of my life, drastically changed my plans. And here I am living in Colorado where I never, ever thought I would live. And married with this man.
Yeah. So married 5 years and
Amazing.
Kids.
No kids yet.
Yeah, no kids yet.
I love that you called yourself Miss Independent, because I would characterize the times that we spent together that both of you are like fiercely independently dependent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That you guys were able to like rock it out wherever you are on your own, but when you two see each other in a room, there's like this instant like, we gotta be together because we're better together. And I've always appreciated that and noticed that about you too. So I think that's so good. In our conversation, I was hoping that you could share some of your wisdom and some of your experience about like what have you found to be like the most surprising part of the self-isolation period. And like I said, like not just independently, but dependently, not just as an individual, but in a relationship. What's that been like for you guys?
Yeah, I would say for me, I am someone who often says like, you'll never catch me outside unless I'm like laying out at a beach or like tanning. And if you're in Colorado, like they're very big on being outdoorsy and hiking and skiing.
Same out here in BC, yeah.
In this season, I have just gotten a deeper appreciation for nature and being outside because I'm just stuck in my house. So I just kind of want to go out and go on walks and looking at plants and flowers, things that I don't really do.
Yeah.
That has been a surprising thing for me.
That's so true.
What about for you?
Yeah, it's weird because it's not something that I usually reflect on, but individually, so for the first, few weeks, the adrenaline was all there, right? So we're just like, man, it's new. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so a lot of time at home and things like that. And so, but it was just the small things for me that was surprising of how I shifted in my mood and my mentally as it just being outside, or relates to getting some sun, as it relates to, we have turned literally like rides to Chick-fil-A, going through the drive-through as an entire experience.
Yes.
That
like
is an experience though.
Way. Yeah, I mean, we drove the long way, and then we would sit in the parking lot because we're like, we don't want to go back home. Let's just sit in the parking lot, eat, talk, and then take the long way back home. So it's been an entire thing. Because, and so I've been really interested, I mean, for me, personally, looking like, wow, the small things that probably we took a lot of granted, I mean, you took for granted, right? But just being those small things have been really surprising to me, how it shifts a lot.
And I would say as one, date night is different. We can't go out, we can't go to the movies, go skating, go salsa dancing. So we've been doing, like, trying to be creative and do something called Date Hour, where we do something different. So we've dabbled in TikTok. We took like a if you've ever taken like a paint and sip class, we did like a drawing thing on YouTube and drew like a cool picture together.
Yeah.
So that's been cool.
Both of you have these like such vibrant personalities, and they always come out, and I love it. And obviously we're at a distance, so I've only been able to kind of view things from afar. But Aisha, you just put out this like TikTok with like these dance moves, just like fiercely bringing it.
COVID has brought that out.
Yeah, I was a dancer before I got involved in ministry.
But it's resurrecting now.
It's
resurrecting. And Maurice, I think it was Aisha, she posted a video of you roller skating. Like, this is like a deep love of your life.
Man, as it relates to roller skating, when I talk roller skating, I'm talking about the 4 wheels. I'm talking about the John Travolta movie back in the day. Like, I like to dance. I only skate backwards. It's like I have my own headphones on. I'm not even listening to the skating rink music. I'm listening to my own music in my own world. That is something that refills me, and I haven't been able to. But yeah, that's a big one for us. So yeah.
Am I allowed to ask what music is playing in those ears other than the music? Oh man.
Make me move, man. Give me a tune, you know.
I love it. Yeah. I would imagine, so this is what I've experienced for Adriana and I in the short period of time, that yes, we like have different things that we like to do, but we found out we were actually pretty dependent on going out to like do date nights and to do things together. And at home, we got bored really quickly, and boredom escalated into irritation, and irritation escalated into a little bit of confrontation, and that little bit of conflict. How have you two kind of navigated some of those more abrasive, we'll use that word, moments that you faced in this time together?
Yeah, I'll say like I said, initially, it was something that was cool, and it was something that was new, because I'm not always at home as much, so we're trying different things, and we're like, oh, okay, cool, let's look at this, and then it becomes, you know, content overload, then I'm done with that, and then I'm not able to work out, so I'm kind of a little unmotivated. And so in the beginning, it was really like vibrant, you know, it was a lot of marital things happening, but but yeah, and then the adrenaline wore off, and it was literally like, and it was one of those, we had to be aware of, you know, just being roommates, and we started to become short with each other. It was a little bit more of, it started to get to that place. And for us, I'm gonna be honest, it took a mini kind of blow up for us to like, we got to realign. We're.
And can I interject and say that blow up kind of started over a TikTok dance we wanted to do?
Something
always. Oh man,
it's the small petty stuff, and
it was the choice of song, wasn't it? That's what it was.
No, what happened was Maurice came routine, so you know.
So we were doing it, but I couldn't get the part of the routine together, and so now I'm frustrated because you're getting it, I'm not getting it, and we're not going to. I mean, it just something small and stupid. Yeah. And so we had to realign at that moment. We had to kind of really, you know, after a few hours, you know, things settled down. We had to readjust, like, okay, what's happening? And I had to do some internal things reflecting as it relates to what is causing me to get to this place. Right. And literally, I have not, you know, it was before going out, right? Haven't been able to go out. Working, I've realized that working out has been a major thing for me to release and to just be in a different space. And so feeling unmotivated, sitting in the same couch, I think that's been a really negative thing for us. It's been work and comfort, being in the same place. So I had to realize, like, I had to move. Like, don't watch TV in the same place that I work, right? So I had to, like, move or get away. And so just trying to figure out these different things. But it took a blow up for us to realize, okay, what's happening and what rhythms do we need to incorporate now to help us, right? So it's been, that's how we've kind of been trying to navigate this newness, because what we've done before just wasn't, you know, working. We're trying to copy and paste the old routine into what we're doing now, and it's something different. So we had to figure out what are new things that we could do. So
And I would just add that, like what Maurice said, doing the inner work within ourselves to seeing what's root is.
Which I don't really do a lot, but yeah, go ahead.
Right. I normally do, but I think in this season, just wanting to, have a kingdom perspective on it all was causing me to suppress some things that were like pretty hard for me. So that, and just honest communication with each other, like, this is hard, or like, it kind of frustrates me when this happens.
Totally. Yeah, we didn't, one of us heard that I don't want to be around you right now. And it was like taken personally. And it was like, that's not necessarily what it's just, and so you got to break things down, but everybody's taking things personally and being short these days. So we had to adjust at some point.
So obviously this is like a new reality. Like, this isn't something anyone kind of expected 2020 to hold. Everyone was like 2020 best year ever. Right. Everyone was like ready to go, and it's been completely the opposite of so many people's expectations. How you navigate those conversations now, even when they go sideways, how you navigate them now, how has that changed from, say, like the first year of your marriage? What are some of the things you guys have learned about communicating with each other and navigating those really difficult moments?
I would say just learning actually how to navigate conflict and not avoid it. I am would try to suppress my anger, or I could be one that would hold a grudge and just, silent treatment for a long time. So that was a lot of our marriage in the beginning. And now I'm learning how, I'm someone who like wants to solve the issue immediately, even when my emotions are like heated. And I'm learning that that's not always the best, because then I end up saying things that I got to apologize for later. So learning how to press pause, exercising self-control over my tongue, and also just growing in humility, being able to apologize quicker now
that's a hard one. Just saying that you made a mistake, things like that. But a big thing for us has been, it's okay to table it for now. Like, as we are at our peak of being upset, and now we're just letting words fly of just being, whatever, right? It's okay. Like, it's not, no, what do you mean by this? It's like, actually,
which is me. I'm the fixer.
Settle it down. We can
be, Aisha.
Thanks, Jason.
It's okay to take a moment, to take a breather. We can revisit this in an hour. We can revisit this in 2 hours. And I just find making decisions or doing things when you are emotional, when you're upset, or something along those lines, for us, it doesn't work. And so being able to be okay with tabling it, walking away, and coming back. And usually, especially when you have God's voice in your ear, you have that Holy Spirit, he'll do the whipping for you. And I think that's so important, of having that connection. A lot of times I'm like, either God's going to get me, or he's going to get her. And it'll be back in the flow. But that's, just taking some time.
Love that. I know so many couple friends, and I know some things we're not figuring out right now too. In a lot of situations, it seems to be easy to develop a relationship with God that is almost exclusive with me and God. We found it difficult in moments sometimes to have us do it together. Sure, we serve in church. Hey, we will pray together once in a while, but like, how do we actually deepen our relationship with God together? I know this is a question that we're like actively asking. What are some of the things you guys have figured out?
You hitting a hot spot, Jason. I don't hold my laptop, man. You hitting the touch. No, that since day one, we're in year 5. Since day one has been something we are still continuing the conversation. And I think the merging, I was very satisfied and okay with merging a lot of things. It doesn't matter, money, home situation, things like that. But my relationship with God has always been me and him, and I can get this, and I can get through this. I can do this, right? And so coming along with Aisha, I'm like, oh, you know Jesus too? Awesome. You go talk to him over there. I'll talk to him over here, sort of thing. And it's just been a little bit, but she has always had this pursuit and always had this press of longing for it to be together. And we've taken all steps and different strides in that area. And earlier on, one of her famous quotes, sorry if I, but it's like, you can be a pastor, all this other stuff, and you can talk to other people and pray with other people, but you can't pray for me. I'm like, okay, sobering. Yeah. Sobering. It is, and that was very true. And I was like, okay. And so it was a reflection on that too, but it's still something till today that I'm working towards as it relates to merging in the area of, spiritually. And I've always just been okay with, you're good with God, I'm good with God, that's fine. But I do believe there's a beauty and there's, the synergy that takes place when we do come together. So we don't have that figured out right now, but it's still, yeah.
What I would say too is that what I've seen when we do have those moments and we're trying to establish a rhythm, even in the midst of quarantine, is like not starting big, not saying we're going to pray every night together and we're going to go through this book. Like for us, we need to be intentional with a small step. And then
that's good. That's good.
That's so true. That's
and
so true.
Again, this is on me, of course, wanting to go, Big Mom as a pastor, we could just go there. Like, we gotta, take those small
If this
steps.
is home for anybody that's out there, definitely, stop watching other YouTube couples that's doing all this stuff together and Instagram together, and that's fine for them. Do what works for you, because we attempted to compare and let's get the book and let's do our Devo together and let's do this together and it was this and we're going for it. And it was just like, nope. And so watch the comparison.
And I would say on that with comparison, if there's so many couples around you that don't have that rhythm, don't be like, well, I guess we don't need it either. Because I think that I've noticed a lot of people that are believers, a lot of people in ministry don't have it. And you almost think like, well, I guess we don't have to have it, or it's okay. Like if you still desire it, still put that work in.
Yeah. So the flip side of the comparison, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I love that. You used the word humility earlier, Aisha, and like, how have you discovered the areas in which humility is like the most difficult, and how have you kind of like started to challenge yourself, maybe in conversations between each other, within yourself? I just find that humility within our relationship, it is like a nice idea that we want to like bring to the forefront, but when things get heated, ain't no humility there. You said this to me, so I'm going to say something back.
Totally.
So what have you guys kind of, that word humility, I think, is so vital when it comes to a healthy relationship. I just love your thoughts.
So true.
I would say for me, I am someone who, I thought I was a pretty good person. I would never say prideful to describe me. And I remember early on in our marriage, God told me that I was like selfish. So I feel like anything, it has been God checking me and challenging me. And again, that independent part of me, like, no, I'm right. I know what I'm talking about. You hurt me. I know offense is something that I've struggled with for a long time. So when I feel offended, that's when I feel like I could just say what I want to say because you offended me. And that humility piece, first of all, I know when I'm in my flesh, I feel it very strongly. But I think a lot of times it's God checking me and reminding me that, we're one, we're on the same team. And like, you were wrong. You were wrong. And I always think I'm right.
And I think along those lines, I've always, when those moments come up, you can start to see, my approach is not acting as if we're on the same team. And a lot of times it's, you come boiling it down of, do you want to be right or do you want to be at peace? And do you want to be with one another, right? Like it's these different moments where I will fight to stand my point, very opinionated, but are you right? Or do you care more about being right or do you care more about being at peace? And for me, one of the big sobering things, one of my mentors always said was, I'm healthy, not because I know everything or have it all together. I'm healthy because I know where I don't have it together. And for me, I know myself enough. If I'm able to take a step back, humility will come just knowing you, right? Just knowing, being honest with yourself, right? And in that, it doesn't matter how right you are. It doesn't matter what the other person has done, what offense has taken place. When you know yourself, are you stepping into this, guns blazing? Are you stepping into this peacefully? Are you stepping into this wanting to attack? We do some things, we say some things to go on the offense or defense, and throw daggers or whatever the case may be. And when you think about it, and so those things come up for me of, you know what, humility strikes most when I'm honest with myself. When I'm most honest with myself, I can say, yeah, you're being a jerk right now. She's wrong, but you're being a jerk. And is it about getting even? Like, what is this? Like, what game are you playing right now? And so humility comes by knowing who you are. Self-awareness.
Yeah.
Self-awareness.
Yeah.
I love that. Honesty leading to humility, honesty with self, honesty with each other. Because you're right. It's like saying they're wrong, but I'm being mean is sometimes one of the most difficult things that you can do.
Right. Exactly. We're not canceling anything out by doing that.
No, you're not helping anyone through that. To pivot slightly, so you two are leading in a great church community right now, and you're spending a lot of time with the young adults, I'm assuming. That's where a lot of your time and attention and energy goes into. When you're talking to some of your young adult community and they're trying to find that someone, and we know the reality of the culture that we're in, that everyone's looking to get that someone, especially in Christian culture. You're 21 and not married. What are you doing?
Yeah.
How do you encourage some of your young adults who are struggling with some of those thoughts right now?
I think for me, I have both high school, college girls, and young adults, and all of them want their person. And I would encourage them to focus on you, focus on being whole. And like, I love what the scripture says, like, the man is supposed to pursue you. So you can't be out here, trying to plot. I feel like when you are focused on you and you're working on you, then out of nowhere, that's when that person will come. But also at the same token, if you're looking for somebody and you just stay in the house all the time, like, where he gonna find you?
I love it.
Yeah, that's a big area of as it relates to trust. In my opinion, I think trust, and I want to circle back to that. I want to circle back to comparison as well. And I think the quickest way to kill a blessing or destroy a season that God may have you in is to compare. And in the world that we live in digitally, and when you have couple Instagrams, and when you have Kim and Kanye, and you have all the stuff, right? And it's all in front of your face. Right. You begin to think that you're missing something. And when we look at scripture, when we look at Paul's words, singleness is a blessing. Singleness is amazing. Singleness is a gift. There is something that is to be said around maximizing singleness. And he talks about really emphasizing, I could do so much more and do all these things when it comes to as a single person, this and that. And so there's a beauty in marriage, but Paul emphasizes and leans on the singleness and saying this is an amazing direction. And so I think the world that we live in, the content, once again, watch the comparison, watch what you're taking in, right? You can watch stuff. There's a new, these different shows. Outer Banks is a new one that's come out, and everybody's John B, and Sarah, all these different things that's taking place. And that's okay. Celebrate that, but watch the comparison, because it will away at what God wants to do with you in this moment, in this season. And if you look at it, if you spend all your moments and all your years and you look back at, I was doing I was so outward focused, and I was such a place of comparison, you're either going to end up settling for something that was not intended for you to have, or you're going to you're going to continue to miss out on the maximizing season. So I'll watch the comparison and lean on the trust, right? If you trust God with one area, trust him in this one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And you talked about like making the most of the season you're in. What would you say is I would say like one thing from each of you that you cannot live without if you're trying to actually actively grow your faith, deepen your relationship with God? What's the thing that you need in your life to be deepening your relationship with God, and in turn taking that from something that God is doing in you to something that God is doing through you? How do you see that in this time?
That's good. And it may be a different, you got an extrovert super and you got an introvert. Yeah. And so it may be a little bit different, but of my most formational years and of tons of growth, there is an almost unspeakable blessing that comes with true community. And when I say true community, I'm not talking about in the sense that it sounds good and you can check the box that you're a part of a group and, pull your surface level and things like that. I'm talking about, and it doesn't happen overnight, but I'm talking about when the moments that you find people or that you're intentional about finding people that are going in the same direction as you, like-minded as you, and that you have a transparency with. I mean, it was, and I look to those in these moments like this, even now, where I can lean on, and it's not a lot. Don't look for 10 people. I got two, right. And so for me, in the moments like these, or even beyond moments like these, I trust and I hear God through community. I think that's one of the ways that God speaks, as it relates to through community. And that's not the only way, but I think one of the ways that we see biblically is through trusted community. And so for me, it's one of those things. I mean, if you've gone to Disneyland before, you can only talk about it so much. You got to go experience, right? Like it's one of those moments where it's like, I can tell this joke to you, but you got to be there for yourself. And it's kind of that moment of taste true community. And if you don't have it, intentionally seek it.
That's good. Yeah, I'm definitely going to give an introverted response.
Yeah, there you go. Which is helpful.
Yeah. When you asked that question, I felt torn both between worship and a strong prayer life. I think for me, I was someone who didn't go to church until I was 16. And what really started to open me up to God was I went to this church, and when they started singing, I just started crying. Wow. And I think I'm good. Like, I don't know what's going on. And that continued to happen. And I don't know, worship always opens me up. And now, like, I love The Blessing by Elevation. And Maurice was probably getting annoyed with it for a second. Like, you listening to that again? Because every time I sit and soak and listen to those words, God would start bringing up stuff, in my heart, and like, oh, wow, this is really hard. Oh, wow, God, you've been so faithful here. So worship is something for me that has changed the game. And along with that, I feel like I got to give you two. A strong prayer life.
Breaking the rules.
Do it.
Sorry.
You're good.
A strong prayer life, like I always encourage the students that I mentor and walk with. If I can help you with anything before you leave off to college or move away, I hope that I can help you get to a place where you have a strong prayer life, because that will sustain you through anything.
It's awesome.
Love it. So let's dive into that a little bit. What are the greatest inhibitors you have found to a strong prayer life? Because I know we talk about it and we're like, we want to be able to chat with God. We want to be honest with God. But what are some of the ways in which you find that to actually have moments of conflict and struggle? And what are some of the ways that you've seen other people kind of struggle with having a prayer life?
Man, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, but you got it. You feeling it?
Because it's been something that I've gone back to in this moment. I did a sermon talking about prayer impacts our posture and our heart posture and how that is so helpful. But I couldn't just talk about it. I had to go deeply sink in and think to myself, because it is something, even as the person with the mic on stage, even as the person that's, pastor title and all that stuff, throw that all out the window. As a human being connecting with God, our creator, it's something that is still an uphill battle, and it's still something that is not deep-seated routine for me. And it may be a different response for Aisha, but right now, I find myself going through these different fluctuations. But I think what has been giving me such a peace in this season is the permission to enter into prayer with silence. And what I mean by that is I've always felt the obligation to say something. I've always felt the obligation to have the right words. I've always felt the obligation to have a moment of confessing, and I'm trying to do things like other people are doing, and I try to listen to music, but now my mind's going somewhere else. And so it's not for everybody. It's not cut and paste for everybody, but for me, when I start to look at, and I had to go search some scriptures, and I start to look at when people would talk about entering into God's presence in solitude, in silence, and and to be okay knowing, wow, I can sit and just be, and Lord, there is something holy that you are doing in this moment. I don't have to, the scripture talks about him knowing the inner groanings of our heart, and to enter in without the obligation of words has something where I can start my day and give a little silence, and Lord, you are with me in that. The permission to do that has really been an amazing release for me in a season like this. And as a person who's so extroverted and so always on the go and need, without that obligation, it's been so pivotal for me. So pivotal.
Powerful.
I would say for me is in the beginning, I thought I kind of had to, set the mood for God, get in a quiet place, some worship music.
Where is this going? It sounds a little weird.
And, I thought I had to sit and just, listen. And I know from my own experience, even my girls, thinking that, you have to have this quiet place. You have to have this time where you wake up super early in the morning and do it. That has never worked for me. I am not a person. So learning how to just invite God's presence wherever I am. So for me, my car prayer session and work session is life, okay? And I always encourage my girls, you can do that. Just talk to him. And for me in this season, I've gotten into a rhythm of I have an hour time frame, and I'm sitting, I'm worshiping, I'm praying, I'm reading. I've never had that in my entire life. However, for some people, it feels mundane. It feels like a routine. It feels like a task. So if that don't work for you, invite God whatever it is. It's a relationship. So one season it may have worked. The next season it may be different for me, and being okay with switching it up.
Being flexible. Yep.
I love that. Silence and flexibility. 2 words that you would not associate with praying.
No, that's
good.
good.
It's true.
I'm going to write that note down.
Love that so much. That's bringing heat. Side note, of course, Cali Cruz representing Disneyland. No doubt.
Of course we are.
and you guys were talking about Chick-fil-A earlier. And here on the West Coast, we get easy access down to the States. Well, obviously not now, but to go and take part in some Chick-fil-A. So I know there's a lot of Chick-fil-A love even up here in the Vancouver area.
You guys got a few locations in Vancouver?
No locations in Vancouver. Just on the other side of the border, though. Bellingham's got a bunch.
Gotcha.
And that's half an hour, 40 minutes. Not too far from me.
Okay. Yeah.
And people will make that drive.
Yeah.
You know that.
Well, we come from LA, so I know people make the drive for In-N-Out too, and they will sit in a line and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, we know what that's like.
I'm slowly building a list of all the places I need to just drive across the border to go and check out. I haven't done In-N-Out yet, so apparently this is on the list.
Yes.
Sure.
I'm gonna end with this final question for you guys. During this time, we get more space to spend with God, spend with each other. I just want to hear from your hearts. What has been God really just been hitting you with the most during the last, I guess it's been 7 weeks, 8 weeks or so, that you feel like you're going to come out with on the other side? That God has been wrestling with you, working in you, and now it's something that you think could be a blessing to others. I would just love to hear your hearts.
That's so good. That's so good.
I think one of the things for me is God has been speaking to me about something I've been praying for the past 10 years. And I feel that in this season of things being shut down, it's easy to cling on to that word right now, right? Like, all right, God, I hear you.
Yeah.
And I had got a phone meeting with someone, and then it just started bringing up my doubts and like fears. So I feel like what God has been telling me is to cling to his word, even when things change. Like right now in a place of stillness in a wilderness, I feel like it's easy to camp there. But when life starts happening, when you start seeing things that don't line up with what I'm telling you, I need to go back to this place and just trust the word.
Yeah. I would say for me, on the other side, I'm of all this, I'm anticipating a baby. And so, no, no, I'll say.
This is recorded, Maurice.
Yes. For this one, no, I do think that as I'm going through all this and somewhat in a leadership position now, even outside of that, as I'm looking at things and I'm looking at, I've been in a place of looking at culture and looking at what takes place, because I think that's what I see as it relates to Jesus' life. And I'm really, circling back when it comes to the flexibility, I'm really noticing a changing of the guard in a sense. I'm shifting like a seasonal shift as it relates to, we talk about the way church has been done for decades. When we talk about the way that we have received content, the way that we have been articulating the gospel, I'm starting to make these tweaks as it relates to a mindset that I've had for years. And I think that we have to start making a few shifts because things are shifting quickly. And it's not to sound too mechanical or too, culturally, whatever, but I think it is this important as it relates to the gospel, because Jesus was one that was a man of the times, who was one who was pressing into anticipating change, right? Anticipating what was to come. And so I think for anyone, no matter where you are, no matter what place you are in your relationship with God, on the other side of this, continuing to have a shift as it relates to just an entrepreneurial spirit, a kind of like starting spirit, a spirit pivot in moments like this, because things will look differently. And if people who will continue to say, give me what I had back then, I think we'll miss what God is doing now, right? So I think that's going to be something for me on the other side of this. God, how are you continue to give me the willingness to pivot and to shape and to be molded into something new, right? You got all these different hats that you're wearing now, and that goes to anybody, right? A lay member, no matter where you are. New season. What is God doing now? What is God doing now? Because if we stay looking at, I'm preaching, I'm going back all the way to comparison. If you compare this season to your last season, you're going to miss out. So I just, the comparison piece, right? So I really got stirring this tweaking of this seasonal shift, and things have always changed. Things have always been a new thing. And so how do we stay up to that? So, yeah.
I think I heard this from our guy, Sean Marshall, that he said something along the lines of like, change happens to you, but transition is up to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we are all transitioning. We are all transitioning.
Yes, sir. I love it. We'll leave it on that mark. And then just to bless our community, I'm going to ask mighty woman of God, Aisha, could you just like pray us out hot? And just a blessing over our community and over just like everybody who's watching. I would appreciate that.
That would be awesome. No, go ahead and pray. Ask God to lead us to Canada sometime. At some point. At some point, we got to make our way to hang out.
100%.
But go ahead, babe.
Okay. God, I just thank you so much for your presence, God, and that we can be with you whenever, wherever we are. Father, I thank you for Jason. I thank you for City Collective, and I thank you for every person who has tuned into this video. I pray, God, that there is something that they can hold on to and be encouraged, that can shift their perspective that can help them pivot in this season, Lord God, and help them trust you no matter what it looks like, Lord God. Father, we are thankful for your faithfulness. We're thankful for your provision. We're thankful, God, for you sustaining us, God. And may we have hearts that are open to you, ears that are open to you, God, and a mouth that is willing to say yes, no matter the cost, God.
Amen.
Father, we just pray your will be done. We pray for divine protection and wholeness and healing for every listener. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Amen. All right. Well, appreciate you two. Got so much love. We'll get you up here to Canada. It's going to happen. Gonna happen.
Good.
Well, we will wrap up. City Collective, thanks for joining us. If you need prayer, I would encourage you, message our prayer team, pray@citycollective.com. Sunday mornings, we meet at 10:30, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. But more than anything, just be encouraged. Know that God is with you in the spaces that you are, and that we have every opportunity to discover life in Jesus. Love God, love people, be the church. Have an amazing rest of your day, City Collective. We love you.